Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today we're going to be doing something completely new. We're going to be doing our first ever movie review. And we're going to be reviewing the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Now, since this is the first ever movie review we're going to be doing, I just want to let you all know we're going to be doing this 100% spoiler free. So even though we're going to be discussing some of the major plot points, I'm not going to be ruining any of the aha moments of the movie, and most of these things can probably already be deduced simply by the trailers. And any footage that you might see during this review is going to be pulled from the trailers, and in my book, that is definitely not spoilers. And don't forget, as we're jumping straight into the review, if you are liking the video, hit that like button. So if we start by discussing the general overall plot of the movie, first of all, it's a pretty simple one. Due to some events in the beginning, both Mario and his brother Luigi are pulled into the Mushroom Kingdom that is somehow connected by a series of pipes to Brooklyn. Unfortunately, upon entering the Mushroom Kingdom, Mario is separated from his brother, and Luigi unfortunately falls into the clutches of Bowser. Now, Bowser on his end is already on a mission to take over / destroy the Mushroom Kingdom using the legendary Invincibility Star. So now it's up to Mario, with the aid of Princess Peach, to not only save Luigi, but also the Mushroom Kingdom. Now, plot-wise, as I mentioned, to remain spoiler-free, we're not going to go any deeper than that, and all this can pretty much already be deduced from the trailers. But what I have to say about it is that although it's simple, it works for this movie, and I'm not going to hide it any longer. I was actually very pleasantly surprised by this movie, and I ended up liking it a lot. However, the depth of the plot is definitely not one of its strong suits, rather being focused on a very fast-paced narrative and really getting from one action section to the next. But ultimately, this makes a lot of sense given the franchise it's based off of. Number one, they're trying to make this a very kid-friendly and family-friendly movie. And what the kids hate worse than 10 minutes of raw exposition with nothing happening. Secondly, the Mario franchise has never itself been about super long cutscenes, exposition, and huge storyline. It's simple, you need to save the princess. And although shallow, the plot really does stand up, and it's a fun ride from the beginning to the end. There was maybe room to do a little bit more here, but overall, nonetheless, it was a good time. However, something that we are going to be getting into a little bit later in the video is there would have been maybe room to do a little bit more here while staying in that focus of a fast-paced, family-friendly movie. But now let's jump to probably one of the hottest topics regarding this movie, the choice of the different voice actors and their performances. Now, just quickly to start out, if we go through a quick list of what I would call the main actors in the movie, we have Mario being played by Chris Pratt. We have Princess Peach being played by Anya Taylor Joy. We have Charlie Day playing Luigi. We have Jack Black who plays Bowser. And we have Keegan-Michael Key playing Toad. Lastly, as a main player, I would even put in Seth Rogen who plays Donkey Kong. Now, the choice of the actual voice actors was probably one of the hottest topics on the internet, especially Chris Pratt as Mario, which a lot of people just couldn't see voicing that character. Now, before we get into any character specifics, I do want to say that overall, I think that the voice acting here ended up being an excellent choice overall. And one of the biggest advantages to a movie done in 3D animation is that you don't have the actors' faces on screen. You only have their voices voicing the characters. And one important thing to me that a voice actor was well chosen for a character is that although their voice can be recognizable, after a few minutes of hearing it, I wasn't hearing the actors anymore. I was hearing the characters. So I wasn't hearing Chris Pratt's version of Mario. I was just hearing Mario. I was just hearing Luigi. I was just hearing Princess Peach. And definitely, I was only hearing Bowser. And for me, that's exactly what you want when you're choosing a cast for a 3D animation movie. So if we start with the Mario brothers themselves, so we have Charlie Day playing Luigi and we have Chris Pratt playing Mario. Well, what I really liked is within the first couple of minutes of the movie, they do explain why the characters don't have their typical heavy Italian accents. And you know what? For a Brooklyn of 2023, it actually makes a ton of sense. And for prolonged dialogue sequences in the movie, it was probably a better choice overall. And they still give you little tidbits of that traditional Mario dialogue every now and then throughout the movie, which is a nice touch connecting it to the games. Now, the other performance that I was really interested to see was Anya Taylor Joy playing Princess Peach, because definitely if we look at the character from the games, that is not the typical actress I would have seen playing Peach either. However, for this representation of Peach in the movie, it actually works out really, really well. And we'll get into that also in just a couple of seconds when we're going to be talking about the presentation of the different characters. But the important thing to know is that this version of Peach fits in perfectly with the voice that they chose. Now, the last individual voice performance that I want to talk about is that of Jack Black as Bowser, which in my opinion totally stole the show. I mean, this is the standout performance of the movie, and I already really like Jack Black as a voice actor from his time in Kung Fu Panda as Po. However, in those movies, he was using mostly his natural voice, which is not the case in this movie here, and you know what? It set him up as a premier voice actor. And I love the dimension he gives to Bowser. He plays an angry, aggressive Bowser, a more touching Bowser, and even, yes, a singing Bowser. And it really shows how much depth he has to his different voice acting talents. And you know what? Although Bowser does get a decent amount of screen time in the movie, it's sort of weird when you're almost hoping to see the villain for a longer period of time, because his representation was so good that every time it cut away from the scene, I sort of wanted more. But as I said in the beginning, the voice cast overall was very well chosen, and even for people who doubted on the internet, trust me, see the movie before you make your final opinions. So now if we move on to the characters themselves. So first of all, I think that the two Mario brothers once again were very much nailed for this movie. You have Mario, who is the more self-assured and really determined brother overall. On the other hand, you have Luigi, who really follows more in his brother's footsteps, is a much more of a scaredy cat as he's represented in the games, but at the same time is always there when you really need him the most. Now Bowser, as I pointed to earlier, and we're not going to spend too much time on him because we just discussed it a lot, talking about the performance of Jack Black, but I really like the fact that they made him more than a one-dimensional character in the movie, and like I said, overall, he stole the show. You also have Donkey Kong, who is very convincing overall, but has a slightly different personality than I was expecting, rather than of a young, brash ape who's really looking for the approval of his father, but once again works very well within the context of this movie. Now, Toad's presentation, and especially because of the voice they chose for him, ends up being an immense comic relief, and actually, in my opinion, was one of the most underutilized characters in the movie. Every scene he's in is great, he's just not in that many scenes and he doesn't have that many voice lines. And given the short runtime of the movie, they could have put in a few extra minutes, give him a few extra lines, especially with such an excellent actor and a funny actor behind him. It could have been another standout performance. But the character that I really want to talk about in this section is Princess Peach, because this is definitely not your traditional Princess Peach. She's rather more of a warrior princess in this game, very sure of herself, leading her kingdom, wanting to protect everyone, which is completely opposite to her standard damsel in distress that we see in the games. But once again, her character in the games, let's be honest, is very one-dimensional. And let's be honest, translating that to a movie format would just probably not have worked whatsoever. And although it wasn't the Princess Peach I was expecting, it ended up being one that I liked a lot, and it made a ton of sense with the choice of voice actor behind her. And that leads us directly into one of the other biggest controversies about the movie. Why aren't we saving Princess Peach in this movie, but rather Luigi? But in reality, overall, this makes a ton more sense, especially given the setup that this is pretty much the introduction of Mario to Princess Peach. Had she been the one kidnapped in the beginning of the movie, how would they actually get to know each other? On the other opposite end, well, Mario grew up with his brother. He knows his brother. He doesn't need any additional motivation to want to save him. On the other hand, doing it this way and having Mario spend most of the movie with Peach, well, they get to know each other, they form that bond, and you get to see the beginnings of probably what is going to be a future movie franchise. And I think that that is the main thing to take away here. They are setting up a lot in this movie, which is why the plot is so simple and fast-paced, because all these characters are getting to know each other. And throughout the whole movie, and you'll realize it if you pay attention, they are dropping little hints left and right of things that are probably going to be explored in future sequels. And after seeing this movie, that is something that I really hope happens. I hope we get a sequel to this Mario Brother movies, but not only that, I hope Nintendo explores its other franchises. And even maybe takes a slightly different direction, like let's say a slightly darker, more serious themed Legend of Zelda movie, or even maybe a Metroid movie. I mean, with this release here, I think Nintendo has finally planted the seeds to what could be a ton of great future projects. So now at this point, I'm going to be giving a score to the movie, and we're going to be using pretty much the same scale that we do to review our games. And in this case, for the Mario Brothers movie, I'm going to be giving this movie an 8, putting it at the low end of a great movie. The important thing here is to not go into this expecting an extremely deep plot, but rather an hour and a half of a ton of fun. And although I do think they could have still added an extra 15 minutes to the movie, still staying in that under 2-hour family format and expose the characters slightly more, they still do a really good job of setting everyone up. So now I want to hear from all of you. Let me know what you think of this first ever movie review here on the channel in the comments down below. Also, if this video gets a very good reception and you'd like to see a spoiler version of it come out, let me know that as well in the comments down below. And don't forget, on the way out, if you did like the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and click on that notification bell so you know when all my future videos come out. And as usual, I hope I'll see you in my next video.